He stood in the rain and looked up, not searching for anything, not asking for anything, just standing there, the way a man stands in something he cannot change. It has stopped trying to change. The sky was gray and patient. It had been gray and patient for almost 3 weeks. He had been patient too. Inside the house, the garden plans had been drawn, redrawn since October, since the first frost took the last of the previous season, and the ground went cold and quiet, and he began thinking about what would come next. And through the short days and the long nights of winter, he turned it over in his mind. The zinnia patch, the veggie patch. Exactly where? Exactly what? The whole thing imagined down to its edges, while the world outside was frozen and still. Spring came, and he built what he had imagined. The zinnia patch went in. The veggie patch followed. Church grounds were cleaned and tended. Every obligation of the season met one muddy morning at a time, in the rain, in the gray, in a particular quiet of a man doing what needs doing rather than in particular quiet of a man doing what needs doing, whether the rain cooperates or not. And by the time the last thing was finished, the two patches existed exactly as he pictured them standing at the frost line last October. That is its own kind of awe, the satisfaction of a thing completely realized. The garden in his mind and the garden in the ground, finally the same garden. He loaded the canoe on the truck. He loaded the bike on the rack, and he drove the Moraine State Park. The sky ahead of him was blue. He had forgotten what it's like to move. 3 weeks of rain and a full season of work have a way of narrowing a man down. The body forgets that it was made for more than obligation. And then the trail opens up beneath you, and the wheels begin to turn, and the shadow of the bike moves along the asphalt beside you like a quiet companion keeping pace. Something in you remembers. He pedaled. The trees open up above him as he rode, branches in the sky moving past in slow rotation. The blue coming through in pieces, the light doing what summer light does when it finally arrives after a long absence. It doesn't announce itself, it simply appears, and you find yourself looking up at the way you look at something you don't know what you had missed until it was back. He rose, looked up, and kept moving. Then the trail ended and the lake appeared. Lake Arthur spread out below him in the full sun, blue and wide, completely unhurried. The kind of view that stops a man mid-breath and holds him there for a moment before he remembers to exhale. He had earned this view, not just today, since October. He walked the bike to the bench at the overlook and leaned it there and sat down. He did nothing for a moment. After months of planning and weeks of rain, the season were completed. The all didn't arrive as something dramatic. It never does. It arrived the way the sun had arrived through the trees, quietly, without announcement, simply present at once in a way that made everything before it feel exactly worthwhile. He sat above the lake and felt the warmth on his face and thought about the zinnia patch and the veggie patch, sitting back home in the sun doing exactly what he had imagined them doing since last October. He thought about the 3 weeks of rain. He thought about standing in it and looking up. He understood now what he had been waiting for. Not just the good weather and not just the open trail or the wide lake. He had been waiting for the feeling that arrives only when patience has been completely spent and the work has been completely done, and there is nothing left between you and the day itself. He sat with it as long as it asked him to stay. And then he got up, retrieved his bike, and rode back to the truck. The ride back was quieter inside. Not because anything has changed on the trail. The trees are the same. The asphalt was the same. The shadow of the wheel still moved along beside him in the sun. But something in him had settled, the way water settles after it's been moving for a long time and finally finds still ground. He rode and let the trail carry him back. He walked out onto the pier. The lake stretched away from him in every direction under open sky. Blue meeting at the horizon, water catching the sun in small shifting pieces of light. He stood at the end of the pier and let it be as large as it was. A man on a pier is a small thing. He learned to be comfortable with that. At the shore, the water moved in slow, patient rhythms over the rock, clear enough to see every stone beneath it, every stem of vegetation bending gently in the current. The lake doing what lakes have always done, indifferent, alive, completely itself. On one rock, a snake lay stretched in full sun, head resting at the water's edge. He smiled. He understood completely. On a day like this, after the weeks had come before, you find the warmest rock you can, and you put your head towards the light, and you stay there as long as the day allows. He carried the canoe down and pushed it into the water. The paddle found its rhythm quickly. Blade in, pull, recover, blade in again. The canoe moved across the surface with quiet efficiency that felt like the right way to move through something as still and as wide. He can hear the water. He can hear his own breathing, nothing else. The blade entered the water and pushed through it and emerged in a small turbulence it left behind, settled back to glass almost immediately, as if it had never been there, as if the lake absorbed every trace of him and turned to itself without effort. He found that comforting rather than lonely. At the edge of the lake, where the trees leaned over the water, he steered the canoe beneath him, branches hanging low, leaves brushing the gunwale, the world going briefly green and close and cathedral quiet. Then the branches caught him. He worked his way through of a man who had spent an entire season. He worked his way free with the particular patience of a man who spent an entire season untangling things, unhurried, unbothered, mildly amused at himself. The lake waited. The branches released him. He paddled back out into the open. Some things resist you gently. That's allowed too. He turned the canoe towards the sun. The water ahead of him broke into light. Thousands of small shifting reflections moving across the surface like something alive, like the lake itself was breathing, like the path forward was made of nothing but brightness and the quiet sound of a paddle finding water. He had stood in the rain, looked up. He had planned through the frost and built through the mud and tended everything that needed tending and waited for everything that required waiting. And now he was here, on the water, in the sun, rowing towards the light with nothing left undone behind him. The zinnia patch was growing. The veggie patch was growing. The summer was exactly what he had imagined it would be standing at the frost line last October. He paddled on. Let the summer begin.